intention is, I guess, maximizing what I can experience, create, evolve from, based on what, in this case, my physical cycle is prompting me to do in the way that I act and be, depending on where I am. And just, structuring the things I can control around that in a flexible way.
How can you honor that and honor your body's needs at the same time? What would that look like for you?
Well, I guess one question I would have for myself is, do I need to communicate that with that person, or do I just need to, because I also trust that my energy and passion will exude through, even in the space when I personally am not feeling. So it could almost be that expectation of, oh, I'm not up and about, so I don't want to do this call. I think it could almost be just about sitting back and even just being like, this is clearly the energy that I need to connect with for whatever reason. Like, maybe that's just how I'm meant to connect with this person, just from a more grounded, inward, self-reflective space.
So as I'm deeply in acceptance of the phase that I'm in, I'm turning up as, we're both turning up as still early postpartum mothers who had lack of sleep last night, and but we're still here, we're still connecting, there's still a co-creation happening. And so the deep acceptance of the phase that you're in, and then the question of, how does this energy serve me, which is what you just answered. Of, this feels grounded, this feels connected, this feels perhaps softer and more, as you feel inward too.
A more feminine energy, actually, now that I think about it.
More feminine.
And I think it just actually plays on the narrative also of need to be productive all the time is one thing. And I think it's partly my nature, but also I think it's just living in Melbourne. Melbourne's such a busy city, and also just being in the 21st century, like being slow and soft can make you feel like you're sad or like not engaging or like all these negative things, but there's so much more in there that's, as you say, like what is in there that is serving you. It isn't necessarily negative. It's only negative if you think, well, I can't do these things, or I don't feel like doing XYZ right now. Like, if I think about when I'm at when I'm up in terms of energy, outwards, social, which you would typically, I guess, put with ovulation. And it's not so much that I'm always self-reflecting, but I'm not self-reflecting. I'm self-reflecting to keep pushing out. Like, what can I put out? I'm more reflecting on an external thing or an idea that I'm putting out, the creative process. Like, what creative thing am I putting out? But then when you're in this phase, the reflection turns to, okay, so what, and I think I said this before, like me now sitting in a space where I'm looking more at myself rather than outwards. Like, how am I sitting? How is my soul sitting? How is my true self, authentic self sitting with these big ideas that I was creating when I was just mainly looking outwards? Obviously always doing little check-ins, but it's like so much more of my energy was outwards, which I think is also awesome, because you can't do that if you're just looking inwards. Like, there's benefits in both.
Yep. And the beauty, as you already recognize, is that they're both in service. And what I love about this phase is that it is your opportunity to come back to the values of yourself and the values of your business, and why are you creating this.
And it shifts them, which is really interesting. Like, there are emerging passions that I didn't even realize that I had.
Yes. And so those emerging passions, then as you sit in this more stillness, softness, feminine space, it's like, this is calling you as a higher self purpose. This is what my work is, my life's work, as an outward, but then also this is calling you as your life's work internally, and your spiritual work in, on self. And then also, the grounding that comes back into too is like your family values, and spending time with family, and having a business that integrates beautifully with family life. And without it, you know, so like you said, otherwise you would just get swifted off in that direction and you'd be go, go, go. And what you originally sought for was to have a business that works around family, that, you know, allows you to be present as a mother. And so it brings you back. It's that then you're building trust in yourself and trust in your rhythm and your cycles, that this is where I am. I can be fully in it.
Yeah.
Let the momentum take me.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in this space, I can fully trust that the momentum comes back, but this is in service for me, that I anchor back into my values. I anchor back into my body. I also, when we think of creative ideas and going inward, and it depends, like, how does inspiration find you? Maybe it's not what you're doing, but more so, how are you feeling?
Okay. Well, it's very relaxed. I was literally just eating pancakes and talking to a hero.
Yeah.
So it's the space for that, whether it's intuitive or coming up from some conscious things that I've picked up throughout my day or week or years of being in this. Yeah, it's that space.
Yeah. So when you're super chill, you're relaxed, you're eating pancakes, amazing ideas come to you. So when you're bleeding and you're super chill and you're laying on the couch, amazing ideas can come to you.
It doesn't mean that's when I'll action them, but yeah, it's like the.
No, but depends how you see ideas. But, you know, consciousness gifting you an idea, saying you're the person we want to act on this, the veil becomes really thin during bleed time. And so as we are shedding all that is no longer in service, and, you know, reflecting upon that, we're also creating space and have that real receptive mode, because we're not outwardly acting and we're resting. Things can drop in, and they might be like your best idea yet, the best way for it to work in for your family and your values and your business. It might be, and when they drop in, it might be that you have no idea even how to action upon them. But
or it's just subtle. Yeah, it's versus I think when you're up, it's like idea, boom, let's go. And that's what happened when I like we came up with that idea, and then I posted something on Instagram being like,
and because we're not completely like in action mode, perhaps we can have that depth of clarity where we can go yes or no. And so an idea can come and we can say, thank you for coming. I love the thought, but I do not have capacity for this right now.
Yeah.
And park it. Maybe it comes back to you. Maybe it's for somebody else to action upon. And so it's a really nice time to ask yourself, like, what is my capacity?
Yeah. And I'd say I'd say I have a fear of saying no to that idea. I feel like
So why would that be?
Perhaps when I'm sitting in a space like this, I'm reflecting on, like, I don't feel like I'm in that up and about, and I think I potentially associate that as being superior to sitting in this grounded space. So when an idea comes to me, I'm like, well, I want to make sure I take action, because what if another one doesn't come and I don't go back up to there? So it's that attachment to productivity, that high energy. I'm pretty good with my words and articulating. So I feel like when you get to something and I can't articulate it, it's like, what is behind that seemingly blank space? There's something there.
Yeah. So I wonder if that as a practice, when an idea comes, and really like noticing, how am I feeling in my body as this idea presents itself to me? What is my energy at? What is my capacity to act on this idea? And do I want to say yes or no? If I'm saying yes, why am I saying yes? Is it because it's in deep
Mm.
service and honor of my values and go back to all of my values? Or am I saying yes out of concern that I'll
Mm.
run out of ideas, that if I don't do it, someone else might,
Mm.
that, you know, I need to act on ideas for things to make me money, like, because I have to have something for someone to be able to, you know, have that energetic exchange for me from. Yeah, and really explore
Mm.
those things. And then in my experience and what I've observed in women who work in this creative space, maybe you say no, and then next week somebody else is acting on it and doing it, but they had capacity for it. Where I'm like, the idea presents itself, I'm like, no, not ready for it, no thanks, go away. And like it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. And if it's for you, I believe it'll keep coming back to you. And when you have capacity and it'll be the right time to act,
Mm.
and then it'll just come out, and it'll come out with such ease, such
Mm.
clarity. And it doesn't mean you'll never have an idea where you're like, oh, I've got this idea, I want to work with it, I do have capacity, I don't have the clarity yet, and you're moving through it. But in saying no, sometimes it's almost like, this is how I see it, the idea, it does the work outside of you.
Or like subconsciously within. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like it's like, for example, my book. It was like 5 years of, oh, you want to write a book? I'm like, I don't know what I would even write a book about. Go away. And then,
Mm.
oh, write a book. Like, and then even I started trying to write a book, and I'm like, no, this is not my book. Park that idea. And then when it was like, you are writing a book, I was like, okay, I am writing a book and I'm writing it. And it just, there it is, done. And so I wonder too, then, because do know how it feels to have lots of ideas and lots of things that you want to act on. And this incredible, I feel like there's lots of inspiration in this postpartum, the same sort of like the veil is thin, the
Mm.
connection to spirit of like you've actually literally just birthed a new soul into this world. So what's come through you and the magnitude of that, there's lots of ideas that will come up. So I feel like that could be something to play with, so that you are working with that ebb and flow energy.